A punt block by Michael Hoyt and recovered at the 35-yard line. Kupp in motion, the give to Kupp, and Kupp with a lot of room. Down the sideline, Cooper Kupp into the end zone with a rushing touchdown. And open Skoranek with the catch. Another deep ball, another 10-plus yard completion. Motion from Kupp. The give is to Akers to the edge. Akers inside the 10, inside the 5, leading to the goal line. Touchdown, Cam Akers. Pumps, pressure, keeps it alive, knocked away. Darion Kendrick flashing in front of Marquise Brown.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the East Coast Rams podcast. I am one of your co-hosts, Ashton Spencer, with my awesome co-host, Zach Mayer. How are you doing, Zach?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. We survived the desert, and now it's trying to make our way to San Francisco.
Yeah, definitely a weird game that we're about to break down here. First off, we do want to thank all of our new followers on Twitter. We definitely appreciate all the love and support you guys have been giving us in the last week. We are trying harder and harder to give you guys a better podcast every week. And we've been learning a lot. And thank you guys for joining us on this kind of wild ride as we follow through our second season of podcasting. You have anything to add to that, Zach?
No, it's just been great. It's fun to get to do this week to week, and it's also super fun to get to just get to have a dialogue with the Ram community as a whole. So it's super fun, and I'm glad we get to do this every week.
Yeah, man. It's been awesome partnership, and it's been awesome talking with you guys on Twitter, interacting with y'all, and we're trying our best to get people, guest hosts, and also fans on Twitter to kind of join the podcast every so often. And those have been some of my favorite episodes, regardless if we win or lose. It makes it fun, kind of going through this experience with you guys. So, quarter one. After all that, let's kind of start breaking down this game, Zach. The first quarter is it started off a little hot. You have a field goal after a 6-play drive, 31 yards by Matt Gay, kind of drive slowing down there. Then you will go on to have a block punt by the Cardinals. Uh, just Zach, that it was a good play. I feel like our special teams have started off in a similar situation to kind of how they started off last year, which was just rusty and not very well. So that happened. Rams end up going down and getting a touchdown off of a Cooper Kupp 20-yard run. Really neat kind of play design with I believe it was a jet sweep kind of motion, and you could tell they weren't respecting Cooper Kupp's ability to run because he took that thing to the crib. Um, so we end up getting a touchdown off of that. Cardinals have another 3 and out. Rams end up having a drive where they get a field goal. Then the Cardinals have 2 drives back to back where they get field goals out of them. Cardinals start off the third quarter going down the field, getting a field goal. And then the Rams end up having a really pretty good drive, going all the way and ending with a Cam Akers touchdown. Another 3 and out by the Cardinals. Rams will end up having other pretty good drive where it looks like they're going to put it away, and then Cam Akers fumbles at the 1-yard line. Cardinals recover. They end up driving the field with only a minute left. Terrible clock management by Cliff Kingsbury. but they end up kicking the field goal and trying to get the onside, and they do not recover. So, Zach, what's your initial reaction to this game? It is a weird game. Neither QB got a touchdown. The defenses were both solid but gave up a lot of yards. How you taking this in?
You know, in this league, a win's a win, and this was a divisional game, and we knew this was going to be a tough. It doesn't matter who you play. When it comes down to a divisional game, it's going to be pretty tough. And I wasn't expecting anything less from this. So, going into this, we see this that no QB scored a touchdown. Yes, but Matthew Stafford also didn't throw interceptions, which was a big highlight to this game.
A
Two
lot
other
of great throws. A
a
lot of
lot of
great
a
throws.
lot of great throws. I mean, I think he had one that could have possibly been an interception, but it was still he still played a really clean, solid game. He did what I've been asking for this last several weeks, and even a lot of times in the last season, that he was actually moving out of the pocket and kind of dodging. He did that nice little spin move, and so yeah, so I think Stafford played, a pretty good game. He even had two potential touchdowns. Both were dropped. One was from Allen Robinson. I think the other one was Cooper Cup. But this game should have probably been more blown out of the water by the Rams. The Cardinals just played a little bit better defense to cause us to get uh, those two field goals, and then on top of being able to punch the ball away from Akers, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
hmm Yeah, I'll agree with you. I think, and we'll get into it more on the offensive segment. I think this offense is in trouble. Uh, and I'll go into why, but I think it's in trouble. I think this defense is exactly the same defense from last year. It's a defense that gives up a lot of yards, but they make big plays and they hold people to field goals. And it's a defense that is, it's going to give up on average, I think around 20 points uh throughout the season. So the offense has to get above 20 if they want wins. And that's going to be kind of the point where I'm going to judge our offense, and I think our offense was average. Stafford wasn't the problem this week. Um I definitely think we have some wide receiver issues outside of Cup, and our running game, while it looked good, it didn't, I would say, looked above average. It didn't look good, and it's gonna be issues, and the fumble definitely doesn't help, like you said. Quarter two. All right, Zach. Let's go into the offense more specifically. Kind of putting the best foot forward. Now, wide receiver wise, Ben Skoranek had 4 receptions for 66 yards, 16-yard average. Very good outing, best outing from him all season. Tyler Higbee also had 4 receptions. Correct me if I'm wrong, Zach, but I believe 3 of those were screens.
Yeah, three of them were tight end screens.
Yeah, 3 of them were screens. One full catch. Cup had 4 receptions, for 44 yards, and one 20-yard not receiving, rushing touchdown, which this breaks that streak of 100-yard games for Cup. Crazy, crazy streak. That volume just wasn't going to hold itself, uh, especially when you don't have any dynamic number two kind of help and spring you open. And I think that was a big part of what provided success for us later in the season last year was having OBJ and Robinson just not doing it. 2 receptions for 23 yards, checkdowns. Let's kind of talk about the wide receivers, Zach. What's going on with this group outside of Cup? Cup is great. He's having another top 5 wide receiver season. Um, what's going on with him?
Yeah, it has to come down to, I think, what happened over the summer, and I think it's not Matthew Stafford's elbow. I don't think it's a problem currently, but I think the problem comes since the fact where he wasn't playing, he wasn't able to contribute to the early parts of training camp and things like that. They were monitoring him, so I think
No
you know,
chemistry.
I think it's the chemistry. It's not having that chemistry, and then you know, having Skoranek back on the team or back in this is great. He's familiar with the offense, but he still doesn't have as many reps as he probably should. Um, the same thing goes down the line. I mean, Tutu Atwell still hasn't really proven himself. I mean, he had one target that was actually for a deep ball and dropped it. So there's just not as much chemistry on this receiving team as last year, or you need to have a player like OBJ who can quickly adapt and have that comfortability um, to play with Stafford. But let's also don't forget that there were uh,
He
there
started off
were
slow.
he started off slow as well, and
Yeah.
that he started coming in when they were in their November um, trouble. So there's this is going to happen. So I'm really feeling like things are going to pick up. They just need to pick up. I'm really hoping that this 49er game we're going to see more from Allen Robinson. I think he is the one who we need to see step up since he's filling that Robert Woods role. He's filling that really that OBJ role right now, and we're looking at him to help get open so that either he or Cup are able to get to the ball.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised the fact that McVay hasn't tried to use McCutcheons more in the red zone. Like, I understand having Skoranek on the field for like normal drives. I think he gives you a lot of upside. His blocking has been tremendous. A great block, uh, just against JJ Watt, I believe. He pancaked JJ Watt. Not a lot of wide receivers can do that, and he just was getting open. And we have said this on this podcast, Zach. You have been here. You have heard me rant about how he is not a bad wide receiver when it comes to route running and getting open. That has never been his problem. He always had a problem catching and like being up to the moment. And he definitely was up to the moment this game. And I give him credit for that. But the problem is he's not the type of wide receiver that Stafford loves to throw to in the red zone. He loves the guys that can go up, high point the ball, and moss other dudes. Cooper Cup is very good at that. But you can't just focus on Cooper Cup when he's getting triple teamed in the red zone. Like, not all of our touchdowns can just go through Cooper Cup. And Robinson has he's had one good game in the red zone, but like he's dropped also, I believe what Zach, he's dropped now 2 touchdowns on the
Yeah, I mean
season.
he did one this week, and then I think he did one in the Atlanta game. So yeah, I totally agree with you. I think I think Skoranek, I think when you're in the NFL, it's who's proving themselves, and I think Skoranek is really proving himself week in and week out to Sean McVay that he is the player who will do it all. And I think that we've seen what the problem with this offense has been, and it has been that offensive line. And I think bringing Skoranek in as a wide receiver who's really good at blocking, I think that's where he's really shining right now and being able to be that fullback uh, position as well. So I think those two things, he's able to make a name for himself and be out there. And I think that's why Sean McVay is giving him the more opportunities than trying to bring in McCutcheon.
Yeah, I'm getting really worried about this offense, Zach. This is a offense against good teams that once they take away Cooper Cup and they key in on the run, what are you gonna do? Like, we have to have someone else step up as a wide receiver too. Allen Robinson has to. I mean, some of it hasn't been his fault. I genuinely don't, or genuinely really don't think that Stafford has been looking his way for the first 2 weeks. And it was, he kind of got him the ball more against Atlanta, but man, he has to figure it out. He needs to get in the uh, at the breakfast table with Cup and Stafford. He needs to get chemistry with Stafford quicker than sooner, or sooner than later, because we're gonna start struggling a lot, especially going against a good 49ers defense. Zach, let's talk about Stafford, or we'll mention him. He had a clean game, 18 to 25, 250 yards. Only one sack, zero touchdowns. I mean, he had touchdowns that were dropped. Not his fault. Good game. Not his best we've seen, but definitely not his worst.
No, and like I said, he was very comfortable in the pocket. Um, you know, he was fine when he was facing pressure. He didn't seem to, it didn't seem to trouble him at all. He was extending plays, and was able to get the ball out. So those are things that you can really take from this as positives. And then the fact that there was no turnovers by him. So I think that proves that things I think are getting better. We just need to get these wide receivers to click a little bit more, and not like it. We can't all just make it the Cooper Cup show. Which going back, and if you look at the game, like we kind of broke down, he was targeting several people. I mean, Cooper Cup was third as far as reception yards for this team. So he is spreading the ball around, and being able to toss it to Higby and even Skronik having those good catches. He is getting it around, which I think definitely helps open up the playbook. But I think we're going to get into this next. Is I think we're really seeing a struggle at the running back position. Um, which tends to go into the passing game.
Yeah. I mean, people were like, oh, we had our first 100-yard rushing game. I'm like, you can't count Cooper Cup's rush. Like, that's. uh, And let's talk about it. Daryl Henderson, 4 carries for 17 yards. And Cam Akers, 12 carries for 61 yards. And then a fumble at the goal line. Zach, I don't know how you're feeling about this, but I think we have no depth behind those two. And already those two, they're just proving to not be it. I don't think they're effective uh, going back and forth. And honestly, my personal opinion, Zach, I think we need to start looking for trades for a third running back. This team needs a spark from the running back position. I think it would make it a lot more dynamic.
Yeah, so in my opinion, I do think that if they can figure it out, there is a good balance between what Henderson can do and what Cam Akers can do. I mean, obviously in the first quarter or the first half of the game, it was pretty bad for Cam Akers. I think we were all thinking, oh no, this is going back, to week one. Cam Akers was, barely or he barely was on the field. He had -1 yard, so he was going backwards, not forwards. And in the second half, I think he really stepped it up. He um, uh, had several great runs. I mean, his longest was a 14 yard. He was averaging 5.1 yards, which is pretty good. Um, and so I think he's finding his rhythm. The problem that I have is when we put him in the goal line position, like you know and it's not his fault. I think he's capable of doing it, but he does have that fumble mentality. And yes, or not mentality, but he's been prone to fumbles before. Um,
He's
and
prone to fumbles.
I
Let's just be honest. He's prone to fumbles. He fumbled twice in the Green Bay game his rookie year, if I'm not mistaken. He fumbled, what, 3 times in the Tampa Bay game uh, in the playoffs. It just, I think he has a problem, and now another fumble at the goal line. You can't be doing that constantly.
Yeah, I'm just not sure why we didn't put Henderson in there. I mean, he's the bigger guy who can, he can guarantee getting you, those 4 or 5 yards. And there wasn't, I mean, I don't remember exactly what the yardage was,
I
but it
think
was
they
it
were
was
going at tempo, and so
and
it
so
just
they couldn't substitute, which I get. But it was, it's one of those things where
he should
it's
be able to get that touchdown and not have a fumble.
correct. I mean,
And
they're
McVay even said it's like their policy. If it's not fourth down, you don't reach for it
right.
to
So
avoid that. Like, so he's not listening to the coaching. Um, I I just think we need a more dynamic running back. I've been arguing for trade, and you can tell me what you think about this, Zach. Trading for like a Cordell Patterson. Some people have been saying Barkley, but the Giants aren't going to trade Barkley. So uh, there are other options out there, but I just feel like bringing someone like Patterson in would bring juice to this offense. And the running game has been so bad in the last 2 years. I well, it's been average in the last 2 years. I felt like if we had a good running game, the entire team could benefit from that. Because a lot of the problem with their defenses, they're on the field a lot. Like the Cardinals had such an advantage of time in this game. And when they're on the field that long, they're going to give up plays eventually. This Cardinals team is just kind of bad. And we're seeing with this division, it's shaping up to be a lot worse than last year, at least strength wise, and we'll get into that when we talk about the 49ers, but that's my personal opinion on it.
yeah, how do you feel about Malcolm Brown coming back?
uh I mean, it's like Malcolm Brown leaving. He's honestly, I think he's a practice squad back. I think he's all right. He can get you like 3 yards a carry.
I mean, I loved Malcolm Brown when he was here. I thought he was a good backup. He's kind of like, maybe the old Henderson, I guess, maybe you could say, the older version of Henderson, where if you needed him to be bulk, you needed him a bowling ball, you needed him to definitely get those 3 4 yards. I think that's the guy that you were looking for. He did a lot of good things. I know we posted. He was the one who kind of christened the SoFi Stadium with the first Rams touchdown. So, there's a special place in Rams history that's going to be dedicated to him. So, as far as bringing him back, I think I like that they brought him back. At least, even though he is on the practice squad. So, but and he brings kind of that veteran experience, and maybe he can maybe give some encouragement and some advice to Cam Akers and Daryl Henderson on how him and Gurley handled it for so many years, and maybe hopefully that will maybe help them in some way. I don't know if a trade is coming. The Rams are super in trouble as far as depth goes in other positions, and so I think to me, I think right now we are really looking at it's going to be Akers and
Edge
Henderson
rusher,
unless, uh, yeah, but
trade wise.
trade wise, yeah, I
Yeah,
don't think we're looking at a running back anytime soon unless there's a bigger problem. Yes, they're not giving us the production that I think that we're all looking for, but the depth in other positions are becoming more noticeable. And we had to put Van Jefferson on injured reserve so that we could free up a spot. Even though it's short term and he'll be back by the bye week. um, they still had to do that so that they could bring in a little bit more depth into the cornerback position and some of those other positions that we're just shorthanded on right now.
Quarter three.
Mhm. Well, talking about cornerback, Zach, let's get into this Ben no break defense. 4 field goals, no touchdowns. Again, me and you said the defense hasn't really been the problem in the last 2 weeks. I would say the Bills game, they were bad, but I wouldn't say they they weren't the root cause of why we lost to the
Oh,
Bills.
I mean, I don't think it was the root. I completely agree that that the Rams defense was not the issue in the Bills game. The offense could not stay on the field, which means the defense had to come out. And so by the time we got to this, I think the first half it was a tie game,
Hmm.
and we get to the second
Halfway
half,
through
and
the
that
third, yeah.
yeah, I mean, like I think the defense played amazing, but when you keep bringing them, and I know we're talking about games that are 2 weeks past, but when you keep bringing them back on the field, they're gonna get tired. They can't just be three and out and then you're back in again for another 18 yard, another 18 play drive that makes a touchdown.
I just personally think they haven't in the last 2 weeks had the best set of cornerbacks out there that they could. And I was frustrated with the safety play. It was better this week.
And but I think that's how the Rams like to play the ball. Now, if you're getting to the point where the Rams are consistently getting the big plays put on them, like they're getting the 10, 15, 20, 25 plus yard gains, that's when I think the defense thinks they have a problem. But the defense is
Um,
completely fine, I think, with especially in the second half. If the Rams are winning, the defense is on the field controlling the clock for for the Rams. Um,
no,
and
I was more talking about necessarily those plays where you would see the cornerback expecting safety coverage and he's like a little bit too centered in the field and they would throw a deep bomb uh, that way. And we've had in multiple weeks or in week 1 and 2 straight the same play get touchdowns on us. Now that didn't happen this week. I'm very happy about that, but I'm worried about good offenses, and I don't think the Cardinals are a good offense this year. I just don't, especially
well,
when they're missing two of their top three wide receivers.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was gonna say that too. So yeah, I mean, I don't disagree with you, but I think that this bend don't break. It's frustrating as fans because we see a lot we see a lot of movement. A lot of offenses, even not so great offenses, tend to move the ball down the field. But it's when they get close and they kind of constrain where they can move is where the defense really shines. So when they're in the red zone, they're able to defend a lot closer than they would if they're spread out. And so, they're able to prevent, scoring touchdowns a lot of the times.
Well, the whole point of the defense is to prevent the big play and basically force the other team to take 10-yard chunks. And that's why our third down efficiency is so bad because in the first or second play, they're either trying to get a run or they're trying to take a bigger play. They can't do it. They can't do it. And then on third down, they try to just get a first down, and we're still not trying to give up the big play. And then basically they do that repeatedly until they get into the red zone. The problem with our defense in the first 2 weeks was we did give up the big plays. So I do want to see that fixed. If we lose because they gave up touchdowns in the red zone, that's not as bad as like making the whole purpose of defense kind of null and void by hitting them over their top. Now, defense did good. Let's kind of talk about specific things. Aaron Donald got his 100th sack. I mean, Zach, me and you can't gloat more about Aaron Donald. He's the best defensive player, if not the best player we've ever seen play.
Oh,
Right?
for sure. I
Like,
mean, yeah, yeah, no doubt it. Being able to do it in the time that he did it, I think, yes, he's not the only one who's gotten 100 sacks, but he's the fastest one to do it. And this just keeps just, one accolade over another. And, his trophy wall must just be extremely huge by the number of accolades that he keeps receiving. So, congrats to him for all the hard work and the effort he puts into the Rams. That had to be another reason why he came back. I was like, man, I can't be stuck at 99. I gotta get to that 100.
well, I think he was at 98 also. But I think the funny thing is like people are like, "Oh, where's Aaron Donald? Where's Aaron Donald? He hasn't done anything in the last 3 weeks." I'm like, "Do you not see the video? Like they focused on it, and I like that the broadcast did this. I saw that they focused on like three guys blocking Aaron Donald, like three linemen. He
Hmm.
got triple teamed. Like he has that constantly happen to him, and he's expected to still produce. Like he gets held to different standards. He gets held literally so much that like they would be throwing flags every other play if they were doing it by the same standard they do other players. He is just that good, and dealing with all that, he still gets sacks. He is freakishly good, and we won't ever see a Rams defensive lineman as good as him ever, probably ever again. I highly doubt it, unless if we somehow draft his son and his son is as good as him.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, I don't think there's much more we can say about it, but yeah. So congrats, to Aaron Donald, for a 100 sack. There were two sacks in the game, so Terrell Lewis came up with another sack, so that was pretty good to get two sacks against Kyler Murray.
Yeah, Lewis, solid depth piece. He's had injury issues. I'm happy to see he finally has a healthy season. I was kind of hyped when we got him in the third round. I think he has real talent. Um, just hasn't been able to stay on the field, and I hope he continues to because he's starting to grow a little bit, and he's being a decently good rotational piece. Jalen Ramsey, just a complete monster back there. 8 tackles, seven solo, one tackle for loss, two pass breakups, just flying around. Also, Zach, you know the guy I've been hyping up most in the podcast, my boy DK. How do you think DK did in his first NFL start?
Oh man, I mean, he did pretty good. I was actually super excited about just how he played. Um, yeah, I think he did a great job. What about you?
You know me. I've known this. I've watched him for like 2 3 years. I know what we got in DK. I'm excited whenever Durant comes back. If we get DK, Durant, and Jalen Ramsey on the field, I think that's the best Rams cornerback room ever. I'm just going to put that out there. I think that will be the best Rams cornerback room for the next 2 3 years, and I think it will be a top five cornerback room. I think these Durant and Darion Kendrick are so underrated with their ability to think through plays. Durant, I'm less familiar with, but he's already kind of proven himself, and I think DK is going to do the same. And I think the fan base is going to fall in love with these two rookies very fast.
Yeah, like I said, I think he played really well. Especially coming from this being this is his first NFL start, right?
Yes.
So he had a lot to learn, especially with so like that those quarterback positions. They keep dropping like flies, and be bringing these rookies in and training them up, and having Jalen Ramsey be there to help coach and guide these guys, these young men. You couldn't have anyone better as a mentor, and pulling these guys up and just sharing his experiences. I think it showed so much about Jalen Ramsey and his commitment to these guys and helping them, because I mean, them being successful makes him successful. So and making the team successful. So I think this was a great overall defensive play, especially in the back end. So really, really happy with what they did.
Yeah, really great pass breakup right in front of Hollywood Brown, who was having a pretty good day, and he just comes flying to cause a pass breakup. Just really good stuff by DK, and hopefully he continues it against the 49ers, which are having issues. Quarter four. And that's my very, very not so well thought through transition, Zach, into 49ers week 5 at Levi Stadium. The 49ers are 1-2. Their one win comes against the Seahawks, and their two losses come against the Bears and Broncos. Yeah, Zach, beating the Seahawks is not that impressive, and losing to the Bears and Broncos, they've had a really easy schedule. If you look in retrospect, some people thought the Broncos were going to be pretty good this year. I think after that, what was it, the Monday night game? After that Monday night game, I don't necessarily think the Broncos are that good, and they have kind of proven to be not that good, losing to the Seahawks. That kind of speaks volumes about like the 49ers losing to the Bears and Broncos. Like they haven't even faced a top 15 offense so far. So how how do you feel about this 49ers team?
Yeah, so it's going to be. I mean, it goes back to this grudge match. I mean, this was a 20-12. We just came from a 2012 game against the Cardinals, we were just also saying that their offense wasn't that great, um, and so it's really going to be on our offense to assert ourselves into the position and let our defense play what our defense does best. Um,
Well, let's be fair. We're one fumble away from 27 to 10.
Oh,
So,
100%. But that's my point is like it is on our offense. If they do not bring it, like I think it just goes back to like they could have exploded, they didn't. And so we could be back at that position again because the 49ers have we've always had the Cardinals number. Since Sean McVay's there, he's only lost once to the Cardinals, and that was last year in week 4, I think. But the 49ers have had our number for a long time. And yes, we broke that streak in the NFC Championship game, but the 49ers have always had a way to scheme up against us. And I was more confident in us when you know originally I was more confident in us when Trey Lance was actually healthy. He's out, and that was when the Bears they lost when Trey Lance was the quarterback, and not with Jimmy G. So not really don't really know how that would have handled. But watching the game last week from or this past week with the Broncos, oh man, him getting that safety for stepping out of bounds while throwing the ball, like trying to throw the ball, that's
uh,
that's the awareness that you need to have. And maybe it was all this drama that was happening with him during our during the break, um, but yeah, this offense definitely doesn't seem like it's the same as it was last year. So I'm still very confident, but again, it comes down to this is still the 49ers. This is still the arch enemy of the Rams, and this is going to be a grudge match. I think worse than it was this week.
uh, I actually think there's a good chance we blow them out, to be honest. This 49ers team gives me a different feeling. They're not playing hard. You could say they played hard against the Broncos, but honestly, that Broncos team is not good. And while I am hesitant about our offense, uh, we can't do just tight ends. We can't do screens and focus on Cooper Cup this week. If we do that, we will lose. And let me repeat that. If we just try to lean on screens and Cooper Cup the entire game, we will lose this game. And Shanahan will be able to scheme against that, and it will be a low scoring game. Um, but if we adjust and if McVay, I think some of those losses just had to do with like, especially in the last year, those losses kind of happened because the culture of the team was like, oh, we can't beat them, we can't beat them. And they would just continuously either choke away games or they would lose any number of ways to the 49ers. I don't think that's going to be the case this game. I just have a better feeling going into this one. You also have Trent Williams out. Like you said, Trey Lance is out, so it's Jimmy G, and Jimmy G has looked unspectacular already. I think there's another difference too. This is the earliest we have played the 49ers in their schedule in a while, right, Zach? So I
Mhm.
think that could bring a different dynamic because we normally always face them in the second half of the season.
Yeah, I think there's been some like mid to late October games, but that's one. We're going to get them both done before the bye week or close to it.
Yeah, so I think that brings also a different dynamic. Right now the 49ers are 28th in offense. That's atrocious. Especially against who they played. And then they're also third in defense, which I don't put much stock in that, seeing that they have faced the Bears, Seahawks, and Broncos, which I think they're all bottom 10 offenses. Um, I will say about 49ers defense, it's still top 15. I think if you had to list it, I think it's like 11th or 10th. It's like borderline 10 right now. And I think our offense should be able to take enough advantage, especially with I think we score our first defensive touchdown this week. Uh, I don't know if it's a pick six or a fumble, but this 49ers offense right now, it's just not clicking. The run game isn't able to get going. Jimmy G, like, he's not able to get it. And all you have to do is shut down Debo Samuel, which let's all be thankful that Debo wasn't hurt in that one play. That looked very scary for Debo, so I'm happy that he didn't get hurt there. Uh, you got anything else to add to that, Zach? I guess I'll go ahead and do a prediction. I had it before the season. I had the Rams winning 24-21. I think we're gonna win 30-17. Now I'm gonna change my prediction. I think we're gonna beat them by a pretty big margin.
Yeah, I had them as 27-24, but that was obviously preseason. I would probably change mine. I'm still thinking probably 27-17. Kind of similar to what you were saying.
Yeah.
Um, I think the defense could definitely play better. It just depends on how our offense is playing and if they can continue drives. I'm not really super concerned about our defense at this point.
Yeah, I'm still waiting for that game where Stafford goes off, right? Because Stafford had 3 or 4 games last year where he just went off. Bears being the first one, and I'm waiting for where it clicks, where the offense clicks. So hopefully that's this week. All right, Zach. Let's kind of put a bonus segment in here, Zach, and talk about fantasy. Zach, do you want to kind of introduce your fantasy team? I know some people don't play fantasy football. That's fine. But we have some different fantasy insights. We'll kind of go into what we have done this season and how we are doing. I think both me and Zach are above 500, thankfully. So, Zach, can you introduce us to the core of your team and how you've been doing?
Yeah, so my team, I kind of developed my team, and I thought I had a really good team. Now, going into week three, it didn't turn out to be as great as I thought it was, but um, so sorry about that. So let's just start off my quarterback. I picked up Justin Herbert. Um, Actually, my first pick was Justin Jefferson. Um, I was later in the round and he was still available, so I picked him up. And then my second pick was DeAndre Swift. Um, he played so well in the later half of last year that I thought he was going to be a breakout running back. Obviously, the big ones were already gone by the time I was able to select, so that's where I'm at. Um, but then going in, like I said, Justin Herbert, I have him as quarterback. I have Kirk Cousins as my backup quarterback. I have Ross St. Brown as a receiver, um, Javonte Williams with the Broncos. I do have Zach Ertz as my tight end, with Gerald Everett as my backup tight end. Um, some other players I got Christian Kirk. Um, I got Allen Robinson. I do have Daryl Henderson only because of after the first week, I really thought that Henderson was going to be more the lead back. So he's kind of sitting there for right now. I do have DK Metcalf, but with him with uh, Geno Smith, it's not been great.
Slim
Um,
pickings.
yeah, I had pretty much Slim Plickens, and then I had uh, Ramadandre Stevenson, who actually had a pretty game last week. Unfortunately, I didn't have him in there. And then Tyler Boyd as my other last receiver. And then I do have Justin Tucker as my kicker, who has been just kicking mostly field goal or extra point kicks and not many field goals. So that's been fun too.
Oh man.
So 2-1. I had a really bad game this past weekend. Obviously, Jefferson did nothing. I had to put Kirk Cousins in because of Herbert's injury, which he did score. Kirk Cousins did score more points than Herbert, but everyone was. DeAndre Swift was a dud. Amon St. Brown didn't perform as normal. Um,
Yeah,
I
he
had,
got hurt. I don't know if you watched that game, Zach,
I
but I
did.
did. I did have that game on. He got hurt. I would say 5 minutes left in the second quarter. He was on pace for a huge game again, and he just got hurt before he could finish.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of my guys are kind of like more second, third in their positions, but they had a lot of promise to either take over from um, maybe a veteran kind of going out position, like the running back positions and some of the wide receivers. I have Allen Robinson, but obviously he did not perform as I was hoping for. Um, so that's where I'm at. What about you?
Uh, as you know, Zach, and we've talked about, I had a very interesting draft strategy. I was last in a 12-person league. So I ended up going with two tight ends first, Kelsey and Andrews. Um, my team is Josh Allen, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Michael Carter, that's the Jets running back, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, Travis Kelsey, Mark Andrews, and then I also got Harrison Butker and Stafford. Jahan Dotson also on my bench. So I have made a few trades. I ended up drafting Waller also, and I traded Waller and Sterling Shepard for Jahan Dotson and Pat Firemuth, which that turned out to be a pretty good trade. And I also just traded Zach Mark Andrews away with a pretty high move. I ended up getting Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle for Mark Andrews and Jahan Dotson. So that's some news from my fantasy team. I'm going to have a monster team if Amon-Ra St. Brown can be healthy, having Waddle and also Javonte Smith on there. I also have Jameson Williams on IR too. So I'm pretty happy, Zach. I think I have a crazy team. A lot of people had doubt, Zach. I definitely went a weird strategy. I went a lot of rookie wide receivers. I didn't necessarily care about running back. I got Alaire pretty late. I got Carter pretty late, and they both been. Alaire's been top five, and Carter has been eh. I'm currently trying to get a running back right now. I'm trying to trade away either Garrett Wilson or Chris Olave, both having really good seasons right now. They're both averaging like 15 points right now a game. So, yeah, Zach, I did a few dart throws and I've hit on a lot of them. And this kind of crazy two tight end setup's going to end up netting me a top five wide receiver in Waddle and Devontae Smith, which I think he'll be top 10 by the end of the year.
Very nice, very nice.
Yeah, so I'm number one in my league right now. Zach, I know you're 2-1. Where are you at right now in your league?
It does put me down into third place. Like I said, I was the top scorer week one, and I was the top scorer or second to top scorer week two. I had a I had a horrific week this week, which put me down into third place. Luckily, with those two big leads, I do outperform 4 and 5 by significant amount of points, by 40 points um, from the fourth person. So hopefully I'll have a bounce back. Trying to look at some people on the wire as far as running backs go to see if I can get something in there that might be beneficial for me.
I would
Uh,
definitely recommend Madison because Cooks is probably going to sit out. Dalvin Cook is going to sit out next game, so he could be good next week. I think he would be worth a start. Um, that's someone I'm trying to pick up because I don't have running backs, so I
yeah,
need
I was
I
looking
need
at
to get someone.
Khalil Herbert because he just had a massive game against um, Houston, and they go up against the Giants.
Yeah, I would say Herbert would be worth a start. He's not going to have as good of a game because the Giants have actually a decently good defensive line. Um, that's my kind of take on it.
Yeah, no, yeah. So Madison is still available, so I'm going to definitely try to get him. Probably have to drop Henderson to pick him up, but
I think he would
um,
be worth it. He's more likely if it's one of those things where I think Henderson will average like 8 points, but I think Madison will do a good like 12 to I would say what 9 to 15 points in the next 2 weeks, depending on how hurt Dalvin Cooks is.
mhm,
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to getting Devonte Smith and Jalen Waddle. I just think I'm gonna have a nasty team because I still had Travis Kelsey. Like it hurts to trade away Mark Andrews and Kelsey because a lot of people, because people in my league made fun of me, but what they don't understand is when I was looking, I was 12th, right? I knew the safest option was what? I got two dependable players in Kelsey and Andrews who don't have an injury history. Both are on teams that lost premier wide receivers, Hollywood Brown for the Ravens and Hill for the Chiefs. And I still had faith in both of those quarterbacks, right?
mhm,
Why wouldn't I take that? It's a premier uh type of position because you only have three that are actually the top two are like 10 points on average higher than the rest. So I have both of those guys and they pretty much perform every week, especially when I had both starting. I just thought I looked at this guy's wide receiver bench, and he had Cooper Cup. He also had Devonte Adams, and then he had Jalen Waddle, and he had Devonte Smith. He had all four of these guys, and he's not going to be able
jeez.
to use all four. Yeah, I know, but he was losing because the rest of his team was complete garbage. And when I saw that, and he's 0-3, I'm 3-0, I was like, well, yes, I lose Andrews, and I like Andrews a lot, and I thought
Mhm,
that was a quality pickup when I drafted him. But why not reassure my wide receiver core? Because I have Amon-Ra St. Brown, and he might have injury problems in the next 2 weeks.
mhm,
If I get Devontae Smith and Waddle, I can start both. I know Waddle has an injury right now, but if anything, I got Devontae Smith that I can plug and play for Amon-Ra St. Brown. I still have Chris Olave and Garrett Wilson, which I think are promising young rookie wide receivers. Olave getting like 26 points last week. So, Zach, crazy strategy. I'm making moves. I'm acting like Les Need, and hopefully it pans out for me, man. It has so
yeah.
far. I'm 8 points ahead second place, and I'm 48 points ahead of third place right now.
Very nice. Well, I'm hoping I can rebound from this horrible, terrible week that I just had. So, um, but we'll see how it goes. It's mostly going to see how Justin Jefferson bounces back because, honestly, he hasn't had, other than week one, he hasn't had a real great last 2 weeks. So they need to figure out how to get him the ball, um, which, you would think with having O'Connell over there to help scheme out things, for him like he did with Cooper Cup. It just seems like they're not utilizing him to his full potential, or either that or Jefferson is not as or is overhyped for what he is.
Well, I mean, let's not forget, like, the offense truly got explosive last year when OBJ came in and was able to create a dynamic type of offense where you either had the focus on Cup and let OBJ run wild, which happened most of the time late last season, or just get killed by Cooper Cup because you're not doubling him or you're not tripling bracketing him. So I think that's kind of where our issues having. And Justin Jefferson, yeah, Adam Thielen ate a lot, and I like Adam Thielen a lot. I wouldn't get him in fantasy. I don't think that's going to repeat a lot. Like their team is going to win when Justin Jefferson goes off. I really only see the Vikings winning in that type of game. Um, so that's fantasy from me and Zach. Uh, Pretty good so far. 2-1 and 3-0. Zach could definitely be a lot worse.
Yeah, hopefully by our bye week we'll give you guys an update on where we're standing and kind of go maybe into a little bit more depth into that. Um, but I think that's gonna wrap up this episode of the East Coast Rams podcast. If you have any questions or any feedback, you can always email us at feedback@eastcoastrams.com or DM us on Twitter. Let us know what you guys think. What are your top fantasy picks? What are you excited about? What are you least excited about as far as what drafts you picked in fantasy? We love to hear it all, and would like to connect and really kind of get a bigger Rams East Coast community. So our official Twitter account is at East Coast Rams, but you can also find Ashton at RamsFanAshton1 and myself at Zach Mayer. Uh, Big thanks to everybody who does listen to this podcast. We say this every week, but it's those who are listening and spreading the word and things like that. This is why we do it. We like doing this. It's a fan podcast for the fans by fans, and it's you're the reason why we continue to do this. So if you don't mind, just take a couple minutes to like, review, and share the podcast with fellow Rams casts or with fellow Rams fans. We even now are trying to talk a little bit about fantasy, so really any football fan would probably be interested in this. Ashton, you got anything else you want to close out with?
No, man, you guys have been great on Twitter. Keep it up and keep on sharing, and we'll keep on putting out good vibes, man. This team is still 2-1. It's been a wild 3 weeks in the NFL, so anything is possible.
Yeah, man. All right, everybody. Everyone I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. We'll see the Rams play Monday Night Football. And whose house? Rams house.